Actually, I was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana, in 1960. People traditionally are they migrated where I belong to the Mescalero and Chiricahua Nation of the Apache Nation, Mescalero and Chiricahua tribe. And our people were nomadic, so we're, going from different places all the time long ago. And coming from a strong warrior tradition, my dad was, very much a warrior, and he fought in the Korean War and all that. So we did a lot of traveling. First things that I remember as a child that I hold so dear was, I guess, an awareness of my culture, which I was very proud of. When my mother made me, and I don't think she made them, but she gave them to me. My first pair of moccasins, and she made me a buckskin dress and dressed me up, and that's my first recollection of. And all I could do was watch my feet. I remember clearly watching one foot go in front of the other, and those beaded moccasins were the prettiest things, and they were so comfortable. So I have a very clear memory of when I, first became aware of who I was. I had a sense of identity, and that was really important. And then the other thing that I remember that was so much fun, that I cherish as a memory, was with my grandmothers, who my great-grandmother at the time was still alive, and she didn't speak any English or Spanish. She just spoke her traditional language. And my grandmother spoke Spanish, and she spoke her language too. I think with my dad, they began to lose the language. But I remember my grandmothers had a tradition of going out and cutting cactus and the prickly pear fruits, and it was a harvest thing, and also we would go picking the mesquite beans, because that was, I guess, part of the diet, and so we'd go, and my grandmothers would set on the floor like newspapers all over the floor, and then they would start harvesting, taking the thorns off that, and then my grandmothers would boil in these big old, I guess, like clay pots, the mesquite beans, and then we would sit at the table and eat them. It was just such a nice tradition that I remember feeling like it was an important event, because it only happened like maybe I guess during the time where they would harvest those things. And then we'd get them, and I remember learning how to eat them, just get the mesquite and put it through, and then we'd just pull on the thing, and all this it was like sweet and sour at the same time, the mesquite beans. And we would just do that and just sit as a family having a traditional meal. So those are kind of really neat. And listening to my great-grandmother speak in her language, and although I didn't understand what was being said, I do remember feeling like one day I walked in, and I guess I had muddy shoes or muddy feet, and I got her floors. And then she started yelling in her traditional language. She started getting after me, and even though I didn't understand the language, I understood the body language and her pointing her finger, and and really, so I understood in a way that because there's a language that's unspoken that I think we understand, that's body language and the facial expressions. But yeah, so those are good memories of my grandmother, memories of things that we did together, in a traditional way as a family.